Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again for the POD. Today, we are going to talk about two different themes. One is the baseline data, how to establish the baseline data, and how do we design programs with impacts, how we can capture and measure our impacts afterwards. For the agenda, we will go ahead with a quick round of introductions so that we all know each other. I and Jeff, we probably know everyone, but then it connects, have that connection. And then in the agenda, we have, as I said, dynamic duo. We have two strong women leaders. Those who are going to speak to us about I don't know if it is recording. Is it?
Yeah, we're recording. We're fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry. So we have Ms. Lisa Lackenmeyer. She is the director for SNAP-IT. She's going to talk to us about her programs and her collaborations with other programs as well. And next we have Dr. Nia Imani Fields. She is the program leader for 4-H. And she is going to share her programs and different aspects of it and how we all can connect to 4-H. Then we will go ahead with our two themes on establishing baseline data and designing programs with impacts. We will have breakout rooms and open discussions as well. And we have Mr. Brad Pollack. He is the tech help. He is going to save all of us if something happens today. So moving on, I'm going to I'm going to show you 3 slides so that we can go ahead with that and then finish that whole segment. I just wanted to show you all that I have those pictures captured here. So first, we will go with a quick round of introductions for everybody. Then we have Lisa, who is going to talk to us about SNAP-IT, and we have Nia, who is going to talk to us about 4-H. And then we will start our other two themes. So I will stop sharing my screen and go ahead with the introductions. So I can call out the names of people here as I see on my screen, and then we'll just go with the quick introductions. So Jeff.
Hey, good morning again, everyone. I'm Jeff Howard. I'm one of the assistant directors with the senior administrative team for Extension. I also serve as the unit head for program and organizational development, which we just started, over the past year and a half or so, and are building. So happy to have everyone again this morning.
Thank you, Jeff. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Debasmita Patra Dev. I'm the program director for evaluation and assessment. And Jeff is my boss, and he's trying to be a boss. So he's so cool. And I, of course, you guys have been listening from me and interacting with me all these times that I came in. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And next we have Jackie.
Find my mute button. Hi, I am Jackie Takis. I am the Watershed Restoration Specialist in the ENR program, but in this case, I am also the appointment, promotion, and tenure, appointment, evaluation, and promotion coordinator for the department.
Thanks, Jackie. Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I am over here at the Baltimore City office, assisting Nia on some beginning farmer work, entrepreneurial coaching, and urban ag. I'm also the program coordinator for the workforce development internship that the first round just ended a week ago.
Awesome.
Now we're evaluating.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Welcome. Joey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Vogan, and I am Faculty and Consumer Sciences agent in Frederick County, and I'm excited to be here with everyone. I am returning to Extension after about 4 years or so, and I was with SNAP-Ed and worked very closely with Lisa and Nicole, so I'm really excited to hear the presentation today to hear what they've been up to. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Welcome, Joey. Thank you. Brad?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My apologies. Trying to do a couple things behind the scene. I am Brad Palig. I work in the college's information education technology. I'm really excited to be part of this event, initiative, effort. Love working with this team. And should you have any technical or any other concerns, let me know.
Thank you, Brad. Lisa?
Hello, I'm Lisa Lackemeyer. I'm the director of SNAP-Ed, and I look forward to giving you a brief presentation in a few minutes. So welcome, everybody.
Awesome. You made it. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Welcome. Amanda?
Hi, sorry about that. I'm Amanda Hawkins, and as of January, I am project leader and educator in Allegheny County for SNAP-Ed.
Awesome. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks.
Nicole?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Nicole Walker, and I am the Evaluation and Reporting Coordinator for Maryland SNAP-Ed.
Awesome.
to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Yep. We have Charles. Charles? Charles? Okay, maybe we'll get back to him later. Carrie?
Hi, I'm Carrie Sorensen. I had a position with Frederick County for a few years, but I just started a new position, still with Family and Consumer Sciences, but I'm in Carroll County now in a tenure track role. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm working on financial literacy, and I think that's everything. Did I miss anything I was supposed to say?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Very well said. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carrie. Welcome. Yeah. And then we have Doris.
So Doris's microphone's is not behaving at the moment. So
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I see Stephanie. Stephanie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Steph Foley. I'm the state coordinator for the Master Gardener program, and I've been with Extension for a little bit over 3 years now. Happy to be here. Happy to see y'all.
Awesome. Welcome. Thanks, Tiffany. Then we have Elena.
Hi, my name is Elena Santiago. I'm the evaluation analyst for Maryland SNAP-Ed.
Awesome. Welcome, Elena. Rachel.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I am Rachel, and I'm out here in Anne Arundel County as the Master Gardener Coordinator.
Awesome. Thank you. Then we have Kathleen.
Good morning, I'm Caitlin. I'm the home horticulture educator and Master Gardener Coordinator in Charles County.
Awesome. Welcome, Kathleen. And then we have Kelly. I think. Kelly, can you hear me? I see that going on and off, but no worries. Nia?
Good morning, everyone. Nia Imani Fields, the Maryland 4-H program leader. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Nia. Welcome. Okay, Kelly's it's connecting to the audio. Did I miss anybody? No, maybe not. Okay, so let's go ahead with our program, and then we have Lisa, who is going to talk to us about SNAP-Ed. Lisa, I think you can share your screen.
Awesome. Perfect. Let's see. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'll hopefully be able to give you a little bit of information about SNAP-Ed. If people have questions, definitely let me know. And we have a number of SNAP-Ed people on here, so they can also chime in if they have any additional thoughts or feelings about it. So what is SNAP-Ed? Because we are a little bit different, though we do education across the state with an extension just like everybody else, but we do have a little bit of things that make us a little bit different. We are federally funded, which is similar to most other or a lot of other positions. Instead of being through NEFA, we're actually through the Food Nutrition Service through USDA. So our funding also is USDA, but it's slightly different funding through USDA. And then our funding actually comes through the Maryland Department of Human Services. So it comes from USDA, and then it actually funnels through the Maryland Department of Human Services, who administers SNAP, which is actually formerly known as food stamps. And so that money comes from them. They actually have the choice of who they give the money to. So it doesn't have to come to Extension. So unlike a number of other programs through Extension like FNAP, which are actually extension-based programs, SNAP-Ed does not have to be in Extension. It can be housed in a variety of different institutions across the state. But in Maryland, University of Maryland Extension is the only implementing agency in the state. So all of that money does come to the University of Maryland, and it has come to us since 1999. So we have been the primary implementing agency since the inception of SNAP-Ed in Maryland. We are under Family Consumer Sciences, and so we are kind of part of that group. And so when you kind of think of FCS, SNAP-Ed is actually part of the FCS family. Currently, our funding is approximately $9 million per year. So, so we do have a substantial budget that comes down through USDA. We are through the Farm Bill, so that money is through that funding. Our current employees, we are in the process of hiring, so this number is fluid and it changes kind of variety, you know, it's a fluid number, but we do have about 24 PTK, 11 program assistants, 6 faculty assistants, 8 faculty specialists, and 5 staff. So we do have a variety of people at our state office in Columbia and in county offices across the state. So we work, you know, kind of all around the state in every single county and Baltimore City. For some reason, it is not forwarding. There. One of our main tenets is that we collaborate and partner. It's actually part of what we, some of our federal guidelines. We actually have some pretty strict federal guidelines that we have to follow. And Nicole, who's actually on, is, you know, one of her roles is helping us to report to the federal government some of our, you know, all of our data and our outcomes. And we're required to report all of our sites that we work in, all of our collaborating partners. And we're also required to have what the feds call MOUs. We actually call them collaborator agreements in Maryland due to some of the kind of legal challenges with MOUs in the university. But we have collaborator agreements signed with all of our partners. So we actually outline the work that we're going to do with each of our collaborating sites across that year. And then those are signed agreements, which with each of those sites. And FY21, which is our last set of data that we have, we actually operate on the federal fiscal year. So we're currently still in FY22 that wraps up at the end of September. So our last data that we have is FY21. We had 485 local partners across the state. It was a little bit less than our typical year. We're usually at around 500, but because of COVID, we had some, you know, less partners. So who are those partners? We work with youth sites. So we work with schools, early education programs. Those would be Judy Centers, Head Starts, pre-K sites, out of school programs. So we partner with a variety of youth entities. It's actually a huge part of our program is partnering with youth sites. And then we also work with food access, being SNAP and, you know, SNAP-Ed. We work in the food access arena a lot. So we work with farmers markets. We work with farmers directly. We work with market managers. We work with food pantries, and we also work with a lot of school food pantries. So we work with a variety of different sites across the state. Our model is actually it's evolved over the years. We actually started doing primarily direct education, and it's evolved into a number of other facets. These are part of our federal guidelines. So these are not something that just Maryland SNAP-Ed has actually said that we're going to do. These are actually part of our guidelines. And we're required to report on them, evaluate them, and include them in our model. So these are tenets of the kind of national SNAP-Ed model. So direct education is still a valuable piece of that, but it actually is not kind of the main focus anymore of the national SNAP-Ed or the primary focus of it. But we do still do a lot of direct education with youth. We go into classrooms and teach. We also still do a lot of adult education with parents and doing some face-to-face education at parent nights and a variety of other adult education. We also do a lot of train the trainer, where we train teachers to do work, and those might be at the same schools that we're working at. So we might say teach 3rd and 4th grade and go into those classrooms, but we might train teachers of pre-K and kindergarten to do lessons. So that school's getting multiple grades of education. Some of it is us doing it, and others are actually the teachers doing that. We also do a lot of work, which is called under the umbrella of policy systems and environmental change. And that actually really involves a lot of education. We are, extension, so we do education, but we educate change agents to do that work. So at youth education sites, that might involve working with classroom teachers to do some training on classroom policies, how they can implement healthier celebrations, or how they can do brain breaks and change their classroom setting to make it healthier for the kids. We might work with schools in regards to their wellness policies, or how to help them write a grant to get water fountains or water filling stations or things. So we kind of work with schools. We work with school cafeterias in regards to farm to school. It's actually a huge partnership we have with Maryland Department of Education, Maryland Department of Agriculture, working related to farm to school. So we do a lot with cafeterias. And we also do a lot with school gardens, which is a great opportunity to partner with master gardeners and kind of have some robust partnerships in that arena, both for the master gardener technical assistants. They're the gardening experts, we're not. And so really working in that arena. And that's really an environmental change there. So bringing a great way for kids to learn about where food comes from, trying and tasting it. So school gardens are a really great opportunity for that. We also do a lot with food pantries. Those could be in schools, and it actually might be that the change that we're doing is helping to bring a food pantry to that school. And so working with the Maryland Food Bank or the Capital Area Food Bank to help bring that school food pantry to the school. Or it could be working with any school food pantry or regular food pantry and making the food healthier at that food pantry. Or if they have a food that people aren't currently taking a lot of, helping to increase acceptance of it, having people try new food, actually helping farmers donate food to it so that people are getting more fruits and vegetables. Just really trying to think through how to make food healthier and access to healthier food for our families. And then we do a lot of work with farmers markets, and that can be increasing access to low-income individuals to farmers markets, EBT acceptance at farmers markets, some behavioral economics related to signage, bundling, just making farmers markets more accessible and easier to shop, purchase for these types of foods that are healthy. And then we do a lot with social marketing to our families. So I just wanted to give one quick example. We do a lot with water. And so, kind of looking through that with students, we could give out water bottles, classroom lessons. You can kind of see the education there. Environment, we can change the environment to make water more accessible. We can work to actually decrease sugar sweetened beverages with teachers so that they're actually promoting, say, fizzy water or water at celebrations. We can actually work to create water breaks or add water bottles to the back to school supply list. We can do parent education, so displays at parent nights on the benefits of water. We could text message in regards to reminding parents to send a filled water bottle to school with their kids. So we have a text messaging program. We can actually provide healthy celebration tips. So when they're sending food for parties, they can think about sending non-sugar sweetened beverages. And then we work with teachers so they can become healthy role models, so they can drink water instead of soda in front of kids, that they can change their classroom policies. So when we really think about a school, we're really thinking about all those different levels and really creating a healthy environment for those kids, those families, thinking about the home environment, thinking about the kids, thinking about the teachers, the cafeteria, really thinking about it in a comprehensive way in that multi-level approach. Looking at some of our outcomes, and Nicole, who's on, is responsible for helping do all this data and creating these great graphics with our graphic designer. So thank you to Nicole for that. We have some great outcomes. So when we look at kids, they're actually, drinking, more, they're choosing water over sugar sweetened beverages. So our work is working, I guess, is what you can say. When we partner, so looking at partnerships, we partner with our ag educators, we partner with farmers, we partner with Maryland State Department of Education and Maryland Department of Ag. So we work at farmers markets. We do a ton with markets, and so we have some great results with them. We also work in cafeterias, and so with that, we're working a lot on farm to school, as I mentioned. And then we work with teachers to help promote that cafeteria work. So we kind of have these robust partnerships within Extension, and then also with a lot of our state agencies that then filter down to the schools, filter down to farmers markets. So partnering and collaboration is really key to all of Extension, including SNAP-Ed. And then, as I mentioned, we really care about making healthier classrooms. So looking at all the levels where you can create change. So we can see that teachers are actually creating policies and changing their systems in regards to physical activity. They're also kind of talking and encouraging more about fruits and vegetables. So they're changing their own teaching behaviors to help create long-term change in their classrooms. And so what are your questions about SNAP-Ed? That was really quick and really fast, but I do encourage any questions that you might have in regards to it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lackenmeyer. It's so wonderful to know about SNAP-Ed and all the kind of amazing work that you guys have been doing. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, she would love to take it, or we can do it later. Or if you're still thinking about a question, we can even send that to her. So let's give a round of applause to her. And these days, I'm going to do that here on the computer. So yeah, that's recorded, that formally I did it. Thank you so much. And next we have Dr. Nia Imani Fields. She is going to talk to us about 4-H.
Thank you, Deb. And I have bad internet connection, so I'm trying to move around and see. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, that is good. Let me pull up my slides here. I might keep my camera off since I have unstable internet at the moment.
Sure.
Let me share. Give me 1 second. Good sound. Okay, hopefully you all are seeing that. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here and talk to you a little bit about the 4-H program and what we've been up to. Let's see. Okay, so I wanted to start off by sharing this short video, so hopefully it will cooperate with me. There we go.
We often say that 4-H is the first course of the land-grant university. It's true in many ways. Our talented team of educators offers 4-H youth an educational experience similar to undergraduates here on campus, with curriculum centered around career readiness, STEM, community and environmental stewardship, social justice, and much more. Here at the University of Maryland and in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, we foster a culture that respects diversity and encourages equity and inclusion. We strive towards the ideal embodiment of AG&R, a diverse educational community where all individuals are included and treated with the utmost respect. As we welcome 4-H youth into the AG&R fold, they deserve the same experience. We're proud to stand with National 4-H in our commitment to provide a supportive and inclusive program for all youth to reach their fullest potential and dream big. Things are continuing in a wonderful direction as we work with our valued partners to ensure a positive youth development experience for Maryland 4-H. But don't just take my word for it.
The future of 4-H in Maryland looks to me like a kaleidoscope. To me, it would be more beautiful because of all of the diversity of colors, shapes, sizes, interests.
Diversity is something that we really value in 4-H. Inclusivity is incredibly important on the Maryland 4-H State Council. We try and get members from all over the state of Maryland because we want to learn about the different perspectives from every aspect, whether that's urban or rural.
When you have diverse people and diverse thoughts and opinions, you have a broader scope of the world and how it should evolve, and so its people should look like the world.
We want to know what youth really want to learn about in the program and what they can really gain out of it.
One of the things that we want to make sure happens is that the 4-H experience exposes young people to those different ideas, thoughts, traditions, values that come into a world outside of 4-H when we're in our professional lives, working lives, or community lives.
The goals Maryland 4-H has for the program here in the future are completely aligned with the national 4-H movement and leadership. There is 100% unequivocal, unwavering support for growing 4-H to reflect America's youth and their families.
So I'll stop there just to give you a snapshot. That was a joint effort by our dean, the national 4-H leadership, and several stakeholders, including our state council president, just to give a snapshot about what 4-H is about and what we're hopeful for the future, and expanding our audience to make sure that all youth across our state have the opportunity to experience positive youth development. As far as the research behind PYD, you'll see a snapshot of some of our leading frameworks, or this is the National 4-H Thriving Model, and it's a graphic depiction to kind of describe what youth development is all about. And that's kind of the roots of 4-H, if you will. So on the bottom, you'll see the developmental context through our programs, activities, fairs, camps, workshops, and so forth. We're trying to identify the sparks that young people have, right? We provide opportunities for belonging and developing positive relationships with caring adults and other youth and community members. And then opportunities for engagement through hands-on learning. And the thought here and the research shows that if you do these things well, if it's relevant to the audience and if it engages youth voice, that you'll see these opportunities here through the youth thriving and the developmental outcomes. And then our hopes, of course, are to get to the long-term outcomes of academic or vocational success, civic engagement, employability and economic stability, and happiness and well-being. So 4-H kind of creates the context and content for positive youth development to occur. And 4-H values results-driven educational opportunities and experiences that are based on cutting-edge research and best practices. So we, across the country, work together on identifying what those are, creating curriculum to make sure that the resources that our faculty, staff, and volunteers are using are rooted in PYD principles. Nationally, there's also an equity strategic plan to make sure that we across the state and country are matching the demographics of our country. And there's a goal by 2027 that will reach 10 million youth across the country. Now, COVID has certainly impacted that goal, but that's something that we're still working towards, making sure that our programs continue to be rooted in PYD, and that we're closing the gap, the opportunity gap that might prevent some youth from achieving well-being and economic prosperity. Some of our goals here in Maryland is to celebrate our history, but also open doors for innovation, reinforce 4-H as a PYD as a field of study. That includes having our faculty publish curriculum, research, action research, fact sheets, professional development offerings, and so forth. Supporting high quality and relevant STEM, civic engagement, and healthy living programs. Those are kind of our three big buckets across the country that most of our programs can somehow fit under. Expanding statewide partnerships, shining a spotlight on our 4-H alumni stories, critically reviewing our internal programs and policies for efficiency and equity, and then providing an inclusive program where all youth can thrive. here's an image of kind of our priority areas and how we engage with youth and the connection to our college's strategic initiatives. So in the inner ring, you'll see that we provide programs through clubs, high quality short-term experiences that can include things like after-school programs, camping programs, our school enrichment programs, camps, fairs, and so forth. And then the development of the practitioner, that kind of talks about our volunteers. So developing our volunteers and ourselves as 4-H professionals. And then our hope is that through our programs, our PYD programs, we'll be reaching those priority needs in that inner circle there, promoting healthy lifestyles and self-acceptance, developing leadership skills for life, building community and civic engagement, fostering exploration and creativity in arts and sciences, improving college and workforce readiness, and then nurturing social empowerment and resilience. And we partner with all of our program areas in aiming to reach these priorities. We've had, like everyone else in Extension, some updates to our website. So some of the highlights is that we now share career opportunities that exist within 4-H, curricula that has been authored by Maryland 4-H professionals. And then we have a highlight of each of our program areas across our program. So I encourage you to check that out when you have some free time and learn a little bit about what 4-H opportunities exist and how you might be able to collaborate. We also have our annual report highlighted on our website, and you can see some snapshots of our reach from 2021. We were able to engage with 47.9 thousand youth across the state as far as educational contacts. We had 97 educators and staff that worked with 4-H, and then 1,800 volunteers and professionals. And that number is increasing again, bouncing back from COVID and some recent administrative changes. But you can see the breakdown of that. And we also work really closely with Lisa and her team through SNAP-Ed and then also FNEP because they also reach youth through our extension program. So you'll see that number captured there as well. That brings us as an extension system to a little over 55,000 youth that we reach through extension. And then you'll see some of our program highlights on the right there. Anything ranging from animal science and ag literacy to shooting sports, STEM challenges, and so forth. Just a small snapshot of some of the projects happening across our state. You'll see a picture there of our team, which is always evolving in today's world, but you'll see many of our faculty, staff, and partners from one of our more recent in-person retreats. And we do engage in professional development on a regular basis so that we can stay up to speed with the latest research and opportunities in the PYD space. And you can follow us on our different social media platforms. We definitely stay up to date there so you can see what's happening all across the state. We often share what's happening on our local pages there as well, upcoming opportunities. The big one that's coming up now is State Fair, and it's kind of an all hands on deck since we have a wide variety of all of our programs that are highlighted there through competitive events and demonstrations. So that's one way that the college kind of stays connected and work together. So I hope to see many of you there. And if you're looking for ways to volunteer at the State Fair, you can reach out to me and I can get you connected to the right people. And I will stop sharing now and see if there are any questions for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Fields. Again, this is virtual collab. That's brilliant. And we got to know a lot and your collaborations and the kind of team building and work that you're doing. It's amazing. So anybody else has any questions for Dr. Fields at this point? Okay, seeing none, maybe I will definitely share the email addresses of both Ms. Lisa Lackenmeyer and Dr. Fields so that if you guys have any questions afterwards, you may reach out to them as well. And Dr. Fields, would you mind sharing that YouTube link with me so that when I send out the recordings, I can share that link as well?
Sure, will do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Now I will bring back my slides and then we will go ahead with our themes. Dr. Howard, did you want to chime in or say a few words before we do that?
Well, this has been burning in my brain since Lisa Lockemeyer spoke. She's focused in on the water that kids have access to in school. And I had to laugh because I started grade school in the late 1960s. And with humor, I would tell you, if I asked to go get a drink of water, I would have gotten my hand slapped, said, you can get a drink at lunch or something like that. So I love that we've evolved. There's new opportunities, as Dr. Fields highlighted as well, for all of us, no matter what program area you're working in, to evolve people's understanding, education, engagement in communities and so forth. So such a variety of ways across our program areas that we're able to do that. And of course, because of work such as Extension, as was highlighted, we make people's lives better, including kids who now can get more drinks of water during their school days. So good stuff. Thanks for both of them for hopping in.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Howard. Now let me share my screen and then we get started with the theme that we're supposed to go ahead with. So here it is. Okay. So the first one is establishing baseline data. And then we are going to talk about what is data, different types of data, how do we collect them, and how do we go ahead and establish that baseline data. But as we have the saying, if you know how to drive, you can drive any brand of cars or trucks and all of that. It doesn't matter what you are driving, but you need to be a good driver. Similarly, to establish the baseline data, we need to understand what is data. But before that, I just wanted to tell you all, and we probably have all are in the similar situation. When we are teachers, we have different types of students in the class. Some are really in advanced level, some are getting started, and some might apply to someone and not to others. So, but then we try to build that in and try to juggle and balance. So if you have any questions in between, please feel free to ask or in the chat and all that. So let me get started, and I'm trying to make this very interactive. So in the chat, please tell us what is data. When you hear that word data, what comes to your mind? And I'm going to stop sharing and focus on the chat and see what's coming up. What is data? Okay, numbers, yes. Demographics, okay. What else? Come on, guys, wake up. Yes. Narratives, yes. Information collected about people, plants, animals, awesome. Repeated measurements, information to help measure impact, of course. Data for my programs and numbers of contacts, demographics, evaluation results, yes. Quantitative, qualitative fields that can be made into information. Well, that is, yeah, okay, I will make that comment later since it was coming from Brad. Then information we collect to tell us more about our programs. Awesome, this is wonderful. I think we're done with the class today. Well, I'm just kidding. So let me share back my screen again. Okay, we have more coming. Data can be used to tell us short-term and long-term impacts. Of course, we are doing great and we are going in the right direction. I imagine pretty colorful graphs. Yes, that's part of that as well when we show our impact. So let me share back my screen and let's talk about what data is or what kind of resources are there, the definitions are there in use to systematically understand what is data. So of course, you all have highlighted some part or the other of these. This is systematic information. If we do not have that information in a systematic way, we try to make that happen. Otherwise, there is no point collecting any data if it is not useful. Collection of facts. of course, we do that. We are not going to come up with some fake news or something like that. It's collection of facts. And data can be analyzed. If we are collecting any kind of data, doesn't matter, that can be analyzed. If we cannot analyze at the end of the day, that is not some relevant information to us. And it has to be useful. Why we are collecting that data? Where are we going to use that? It has to have a goal. Without that, we cannot randomly pick and choose and come up with that data. And then we think, sit down and think that what do I do with this information? How am I going to use that? But in program design, we sit down and think that in the beginning, and then we go ahead with our data collection. Okay, so we have now some information about what is data, and then we have types of data. There are broadly defined, and I did see that coming through. I think it was Brad. So there are quantitative and qualitative. And they also have different categories, but then let me focus on qualitative. What is qualitative data? It could be, let's say, somebody talking about something. That is a very valuable information. And when we are conducting interviews, we get that kind of data, which we cannot bring down to, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 percentages and all that. That is qualitative data. Then we have quantitative data, which can be formed into numerals, different kind of analysis. But of course, qualitative, we also have different kinds of analysis, but quantitative is how we quantify the whole thing. Sometimes we use that interchangeably. So you have quality data, then we bring that down to quantity. How many people, let's say, gave interviews, what are their demographics, and all that again goes down to quantitative. But then within qualitative, we have two different types of data, which is nominal and ordinal. Nominal is mostly names. That is, again, very qualitative. And that only says about the name. For example, what is your name? Then that is mostly about nominal. In ordinal, it is in an order. It is quality, but in an order. For example, are you happy? And tell me within the scale of 1 to 10, how happy you are. That's in an order, 1 to 5, or the kind of Likert scale that we use always. That is ordinal data. It is in relation to each other, but you probably cannot measure between the two parameters, like more happy, less happy, not happy, or very happy, those kind of things. Then going back to quantitative, we have two types, again, broadly. These are all broad categories, and there might have numerous subsections under that. Under quantitative, we have discrete and continuous. Discrete is more like whole number. We are saying that, okay, 10 people did this, 5 people did that. The age is 10, 20, like that. So that is whole number. Continuous is more like fractions, 2.5 million, if you say that. So, and then anything, 3.5, 4.7, anything that is continuous data. So broadly, this is how we come up with different categories of data. And these are all included when we are talking about establishing our baseline data. We need to understand what kind of data we are looking for, how we can categorize them, and we can always, of course, mix and match, but then we will have some fundamental clarity on different types of data. Now, what are the methods of data collection? Again, I'll stop here and then have a feel for what kind of methods that you guys have been using. So please go ahead again in the chat. Let me know what kind of methods of data collection you guys have been using. Okay, surveys. Yes, written evaluations, very good. Anybody else? Paper surveys, online surveys, of course. Focus groups, wow. Surveys, program evaluations, observational registration, yeah. Surveys, Zoom polls, interviews, yes. Awesome. Brilliant. So yes, these are all the kind of methods that you guys have been using for data collection. So I have now the idea on what kind of methods that has been used. Okay, now let me go back and share my screen. And some methods we have broadly again, either it could be qualitative or quantitative, or it could be mixed. We always, when we're writing a grant or something, we always say we have used mixed method. And normally now the trend is people are using mixed method. It is both qualitative and quantitative, qualitative some part, quantitative the other, and given the objectives of the study, you can either use both together or one after the other, or any way you would like to. But in terms of sources, when we collect different kinds of data, what are the different sources that we use? That is again broadly divided into primary and secondary. Secondary data is most like what has been existing, all the documents, government publications, earlier research, we do literature review, census data, personal records, client history, service record. Again, all these sources and these methods that you see, these are just few of them. We don't have even more than half here. We have so many other varieties that has not been listed, but for our purpose, I said, okay, maybe we can use this picture. So in secondary data, which is existing and you're using it, you are not collecting it on your own as first person, primarily by you. You means the individual researcher who is doing that. Primary sources, and these are all came out in the chat, observation. You're sitting and observing somebody. You go to a meeting and then you are taking down notes on what's going on. That is also data. Then interviewing, you're conducting the interviews, talking to different people and collecting that information. Questionnaire, you are administering the questionnaire, whether it is structured, unstructured, mailed, on the paper, Qualtrics, any of that data, you're using that questionnaire at that point of time. And then observation again, participant and non-participant, the one that I said, let's say you just go and sit down in one place and take notes, that is non-participant. You're not participating with the overall what is going on. But in participant, you are a participant. Let's say you are a registered member and you are tasked with doing something. So you have dual role up there. You are there participating and then also taking down notes or observing. Interviews are also structured and unstructured. Structured does not give the other person a lot of space to give their opinion. So for example, you are interviewing somebody and say, so tell me how in a scale of 1 to 10, how much you like this place. And somebody says 10. Then you are not asking them further to elaborate. But in unstructured, you just open that get up saying that, okay, go ahead and tell me, how do you like this place? and then people talk. People give a lot of information when you conduct the interviews. So structured and unstructured. Questionnaire, of course, we already discussed. It's just 2, but we have several, as we have already seen through the chat again. And depending on your research question, what you are thinking of collecting, how it is going to inform your research questions, how it is going to impact, have some impact on the society. Everything will determine what kind of source you are going to use, what kind of method you are going to use, and what kind of data analysis you would be doing at the end of the day. Okay, so with all that information, we learned about what data is, types of data, and how we collect those. So what do we do with that information? We talk about needs assessment. We talk about establishing that baseline data for your own program. Let me first give you this broad definition, and then we can talk about how we use that in extension. So needs assessment is a systematic process for determining and addressing needs or gaps between current conditions and desired conditions or wants. So for example, you are a faculty member, you are joining University of Maryland Extension, and you are going to develop a program. So how do you know what to do? You are given one county or one part of that county, and you are supposed to think about what kind of programming you would be doing there, and how do you know what to do. So we do have a lot of very focused steps that we would be covering in September about the logic model, which involves every single step that you should be taking to design your program. And then if you are already in the advanced stage, how to make it even more impactful. And what we are looking for, we can tie that up with what the federal agencies, or let's say NIFA, our funder, or even the county and the state, they want us. All of them want to see the impact at the end of the day. And how do we measure our impact? So when you go to the field and you try to establish that baseline data, you ask yourself, what's the need? And what are we going to do? What is the state now? Do we have a lot of people? It's just any random example. Do we have a lot of malnourished youth in that area? And our goal is how to make their life better, how to address that malnourishment. Where are they going to get good food, have access to good nutritious food? How do we do that? So in order to learn that, you need to understand what kind of situation is there in the ground level, why that is happening, why people are in that state, and how are we going to improve. So the desired condition and wants is your goal. How are you going to establish that goal? And then you sit back and think about your programming, what you should be doing. And then you need to include a lot of things, for example, DEIR, and then you are supposed to think about the impact, how your program can be accessed by a lot of people, how you will measure your impact. Most of the time, what happens is you get into the field, you see the situation and try definitely to help through your programming, but you probably do not keep the record on how you are going to show the impact at the end of the day. And we need to build that into when we are coming up with the baseline data. So this is how you establish the data and the needs assessment, and then you go ahead with your programming. So now we will go ahead and do a breakout rooms. And the question is, what method would you use for your data collection and why? So we want people to discuss among themselves in the group and take 10 minutes to discuss among yourself what you have been using, what have been useful, and we again report back after 10 minutes. And so, Brad, would you mind opening those breakout rooms?
Sure, and I am going to set up 4 breakout rooms. It should be about 4 to 5 people in a room.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, Elena, I noticed you're still in the main room. Let me see what happened. She's gone. Okay, so Jackie, Jeff.
Yeah,
Jackie, I'm sorry, it got assigned before. I thought you were
Nope,
co-host,
that's-
so
That's fine. I am fine.
you're good. And where in New Yorkshire is your son at? I forgot what you said.
He's going to Colgate.
Oh,
Not, is that right? Yeah, he's going to Colgate.
Gotcha.
Right.
I don't, where is that kid? Let me think.
I have no idea. My children, I barely see them. Jimmy just keeps telling me they're 20 and 21. They don't want their mothers. They don't need to, they'll come back at like 27. And I'm like, all right. You know, they call me when they need money, or they call me when they need computer help. They
Wow.
call me, you know, like, so my son is moving into his new apartment at College Park. And I got the phone call I got the text first with the dimensions of his room to find out, like, I have to go around and measure all the furniture in the house to see what he can take with him. And then Jim and I will have to ship it, you know, we'll have to drive it all over there.
Well, Deb, let me just interrupt. Drive everything okay in the rooms? Okay, she went to another room.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in one. Let me see where she's settled. I'm gonna go hop in one of the others.
Okay, doke. Oh, I'm gonna pause the recording, actually. Oops. There we go.
Thank you. So welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice chat with all your roommates inside the breaking room. So let's hear from each room what you guys, I did get a chance, and I think Jeff as well got some chance to listen to you guys, which are amazing. So let's hear more about what you guys discussed. Should I call room wise, room 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, or? Okay.
Yeah, I can speak for room 1. We had 2 main ways of collecting data. One was interviews and informal, whether within the community or with our own projects within our programs. And the other was actually looking at pre-published data, whether from the census or other ways of finding like average income in certain areas of the county, and then putting that on top of programs that already exist. So seeing where there are needs in the community with pre-published, almost like a research project data.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. And room 2?
I think that was our room. We were basically talking about like how we've used online surveys, but it's difficult to get the feedback. But Deb shared that 30% feedback is like, you're doing good. So it doesn't have to be a lot as long as you're getting some response, I guess. And just just the difficulty of trying to figure out what our audience wants and how do we adjust that? How do we find out that information?
Yep. Awesome. Yes. So that's what I said. And again, I will say that to make everybody a little happy and myself also, that takes that pressure off. Otherwise, people would think why I'm not getting a lot of responses. But then we do have established literature that says that if you're getting 30% survey response, that means you're doing really well. That is acceptable. But again, as we all know, we have IRB and other procedures where we have institutional limitations of how many times you can contact people to give you information, and you cannot, means you have to abide by those rules. You cannot just go nagging everybody every time that give me data. So that also is, in a way, it's good for us because let's say after 3 reminders, we are not allowed to reach out to our respondents. And whatever information we gather by then, that is what we have to live with it. So we would focus more on what we got rather than what we missed sometimes. But yeah, I know sometimes when you are the researcher, you have launched your survey and you don't see a lot of responses, you would second out yourself saying that, oh, maybe I didn't do something well. Maybe there were different ways I could have tried. But yeah, no matter what you do, sometimes it's not that, the response rate is not that great. And that happens to everybody throughout the world. So yeah. And room 3, I just swayed away completely with that one.
And room 3 was Elena and Nicole, by the way.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So we had a few different perspectives. So a couple of us were more speaking to evaluation at a broad level. So for us, SNAP-Ed program. And then we also focused on an evaluation of a particular program too. And so we kind of covered a lot within that. We did spend quite a bit of time though, talking about Qualtrics, the use of Qualtrics for surveys and how to make it kind of match the needs of either on a smaller scale of a program or how we were using it to assess various programs within SNAP-Ed too. So yeah, we had a nice robust conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't mind me hopping in based on Nicole's point, I did want to interject. That's why it's also so important for us to think about the broader level initiatives that we may have as a college, then more intentionally, some of the priorities as an extension department, and then further what your county needs are and so forth. What I'm driving toward is if we're measuring toward more consistent elements, we may survey locally, but then we can also inform to a broader piece of information that then as an organization, we can share, here's what University of Maryland Extension did. But you have to ask similar things to be able to aggregate that together. So some of our program areas have put a good amount of work into doing common measures, common question sets that have been validated and so forth. And then you can kind of aggregate that together. But you also have the local information that you need, that you can draw on. So all of those things inform together. So as we continue our conversation, it really also underscores the significance of a logic model that you'll learn more about next month in mapping that out and being intentional about thinking a bigger picture, but also what the local needs need to be informed as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jeff. Very beautifully stated. Yes, that's where we are driving. And next month, it's all about that hands-on, how you're going to do that, what you'll be doing, what are the different stages of logic model and what you need to consider. Sometimes, so it's more like your blueprint or the structure. You go back again and again there when you start out with that, saying if something went wrong, how do I fix that? You go back again to the logic model. So next month we are covering entirely that one. It's more like an introduction to that. And any topic that we covered in this series could be one semester course in itself, but we are trying to, finish that in one class so you can understand being teachers, what it is. So Brad, we had room 4 as well, right?
That is correct. Amanda Carrier Kelly.
Okay, so room 4, What did you guys decide?
We ended up talking a little bit about, we each come from kind of a different program area. And so we were sharing a little bit about how that evaluation methods are different depending on the goals of the program and what kinds of things we're trying to collect. And that sometimes some of us might have a slightly more difficult time than others, just because some of the things we're trying to get at are so complex. And so figuring out, we talked a lot about, how do you kind of figure out what are the key pieces of data that you need, trying to collect things that are going to be helpful, and that maybe that doesn't happen at every single program that you offer. Like Jeff was talking about, that intentionality of figuring out where are the really key points and the things that you can aggregate together to tell a story across the state or with the other folks in your program area who are working on similar things. But yeah, we kind of talked about the different approaches that the three of us take depending on our particular program area and the things that we're doing. So it was a really great conversation.
Awesome. And that's so important. Now we are into interdisciplinary research, and we are into collaborating with different programs. And that's the reason why we are inviting all the program leaders and directors to come and speak to us. And they have been themselves doing quite a bit of work with other programs. And we would definitely, there is no one like fix for all or one method that would take care of everything. Jeff mentioned about common measures. The common measures, again, are restricted to one of the program areas. And as Carrie said, sometimes within your program also there are several different things that are entirely different from each other. But then we are trying to go to that common measures, and then from there we diversify. And we have been in the background having different discussions about how to strengthen that, how to strengthen in our unit, in our organization, and then so that we will have good amount of data, which is, as Jeff was saying, it's going to inform different clientele, different stakeholders in different levels. It could be state, and it could be county, federal agencies, and all our external collaborators and people like that. So we are getting there, but we, as I said, and I don't want to repeat it several times, but logic model is something that gives you that information, what you need to consider. What kind of clientele will be looking, what kind of stakeholders you should consider. It's not that you do not know anything or you are not doing it, you are doing amazing already. But then when sometimes you systematically approach few things that, okay, I can fix this, I can go back and see if this is what I started out with, or things went wrong in the field and I need to go back and fix that one as well. So, well, wonderful. I just don't want to leave it here, but we can take a 5 minutes bio break if that is fine with everybody. And then we come back and talk about designing a program with impacts. And that is, again, some kind of introduction to our next month, but we will learn quite a bit of how to make our impacts in. Thank you. So 5 minutes, I'll share my screen and we move on.
Good to go.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Okay, welcome back. Now we are going to discuss about designing programs with impacts. So when we talk about impacts, how it is defined, the bottom line is how your program benefits the society. So in terms of funding agencies, in terms of what we are accountable to, we are accountable to, at the end of the day, they want to see the impacts. And writing all these federal reports for the whole UME, I came to this point. When you say impact, it's how you benefit the society. And society means the place that you have done some programming, you have offered different types of programming and all that. So society is broad here. And when we come down to individual programming, that we need to situate itself within a society, of course. And in logic model terms, it is also known as outcomes, and people confuse a lot between outcomes and outputs. And I'm not getting even there, but we always would associate the concept of outcomes with impacts. That's synonymous. And what is the impact then? How we define it? Changes in learning. Are we making any changes in the learning of people that we are providing or giving our program? Learning could be like knowledge. Was there any change in knowledge or attitudes or skill set? If you are teaching them some life skills, is it changing what you started out with? And change in action. Did they change their behavior? Did they change their practice? So I remember Lisa was talking about the water, and Jeff also made that comment. So did we change the behavior of the school kids, bringing their water bottles, cutting down on soda and extra sugar? Are they changing that behavior, that practice? So we need to measure all that. Changes in policy or decision making, that is in a bigger level. If we are getting, and all these information, of course, are science-based, and we are collecting that information through our surveys, through different methods that we talked about in the beginning. And we say that based on our study, based on our research or my programming, this needs to be changed. If we do not change the policy in the school level saying that we are getting water bottles or staying hydrated or do some exercise, that nothing else is going to change. So we need to make a change in the policy level, in the bigger level. And those things again go to a broader level nationally or statewide. When you see new policies come in place and people practice it, they implement it. Same goes for water quality monitoring. What we used to have, we have evolved a long way now. We have new infrastructure bills, we have different things. Those are policies, and that comes from the ground level, grassroots level to change. And we are the agent of change here. And changes in conditions. Did any social conditions change? Did you adopt to some healthy living styles? Does your economic status change? Do you get benefited by the financial literacy? Did you understand that you need to take care of your own money, your own fund, and these are the ways that you are financially literate? Environmental conditions. Did we change anything around us in our house? Do we have some stormwater management, green infrastructure practices that we have installed? And then that changed, improved the environmental health in my own place. So we should be looking for, and it is very broad at this stage, but then you adopt that and according to your own programming and try to see what kind of impact you can make in the society, in the place that you are giving your programming. As again, in the logic model, or you established your baseline data and then you collected data, you decided what programming you are going to do and what's your end goal, means what kind of impact you want to make. And then how do you make sure that that actually happens? So where we bring in the evaluation. Why evaluation is important? Because that way you can measure your impact. At the end of the day, you can show on paper that, well, I started out with this, These are the people that are benefited. This is how it changed. And I am the agent of change. That's what I did. And that is the impact. And if we do not have, let's say, a lot of records, then we are probably not going to get where we set our goal. So I see Jackie has raised her hand. Jackie, you want me to stop the screen and then?
No, I would like you to go back a screen if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I just want to point out from a promotion standpoint, what is important is that in the logic model, they talk about outcomes being short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Long-term for the promotion part of it is what we call impacts. So when you're looking at changes in learning, that's short-term outcomes. Changes in action are your medium-term outcomes. And your long-term outcomes are that condition change, which is the impact. So when you're thinking about going up for promotion, depending on your title and your rank, you have to show outcomes, but not necessarily impacts, because ideally you're not going to show a social change depending on your program area. You are not going to show a condition being changed in the first 3 to 5 years of your career. You're going to hopefully show that in 10 years within your career, that you'll be able to document those conditional changes over time. And so I think that's just really, it's important to distinguish the difference when we talk about that big pie in the sky impact that our programs are looking for. And when we evaluate in that promotion process, when you're going for those of you in the tenure track, when you're going for principal agent, which is 10 to 12 years into your career, probably 12 plus years into your career, or when you're going for principal agent associate or principal specialist, 8 to 10 years into your professional track faculty career, you're looking at conditional changes. What are those actions? It's not just about somebody said, I learned this anymore. It's about people putting what they learned into action and then what that action has done to change society. So I just wanted to make sure that was really clear. It's something that I think a lot of our faculty sometimes struggle with, is that taking it from medium term to long term.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks a lot. So yeah, when we are talking about programs with impact, we have two different things, as Jackie said. One is from the perspective of the society. The other one is more like what individually as a faculty member or being in UME is required or requirements, but it was more like a societal thing that we are talking about. And when we go for federal reporting, as I mentioned in the beginning, you have to define all types of impact and you have to show all types of impacts. So when I was writing down the federal reporting, this is how they define, you need to bring everything in and you need to, so I had to write quite a bit from the impact statements that all our amazing faculty members, they submit, but I had to use that as raw materials to write my own about what are the broader impacts that we made. And that ensures that the funding continues to all our programming, and they are not going to interrupt that. And of course, they go through it, and then I get an alert saying that, okay, this has been accepted. This has been approved from USD and NIFA, and this would make sure that your funding for next year continues. And this is a kind of federal requirement that goes on. So we try to bring in different sets of information in here. But as Jackie was discussing, for your personal individual faculty role, and when you're going for promotion and tenure, those are the things that you consider. Good. So, okay. Now, yeah, where was I? Yes, good. So how to know the impact? We definitely talked about it, how evaluation is important, and I think Nicole mentioned that they discussed quite heavily about this evaluation and different types of evaluations that they use at SNAP-Ed, and that can be used in other parts as well. So again, to achieve your goal and to have that impact, your program's impact on society, you need to work these components into the program design when you are starting out with. If you down the line after 3 years, you say, okay, now maybe I will think about how I would, let's say, measure my impact, or how do I know if it is working or not working, my programmings, then it'll be too late. You won't be able to keep that sources of data or any kind of information that you might have gathered before. You would lose that amount of data at that point. So we will be very mindful from the beginning that we need to have a system in place where we can show our impact on the society, as well as our personal individual roles as faculty members. Okay, so with that said, I am going to open this for a discussion, and we would like to hear in the whole group what has been, let's say, your intended outcomes or impacts that you thought that you would be making. And it's nothing like, you know, it has to be concrete or what you promise here is going to be the case, but you could just talk to us about what's going on. If you started out with something or you haven't decided, but you have a feeling that you can do that. So I will give some quality time for that. Anyone? No?
I can share one example. So one of the teams I work with through Family and Consumer Sciences is the Health Insurance Literacy Initiative. And so when that program was being developed, there was some research that had been done. And so that program is very focused on confidence and increases in knowledge. And so the survey questions we ask are around reduction in confusion and then an increase in confidence when people are dealing with their health insurance. So there's particular questions about, do you feel more confident that you understand the terms that are being used? Do you feel less confused when you're reviewing paperwork or things that have to do with your health insurance? So I would say those are the main things that we're looking for with that program, are those reductions in confusion and increases in confidence as it relates to using health insurance information, which I like because it's more specific. It's got a very clear focus on it. So it's I think a little bit easier to wrap your mind around how the things that we're doing in the class are directing towards those specific learning outcomes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So this is very clear cut. You know what the goal is. You have been trying to achieve that goal, and then in the process you are coming up with these questions that would clearly relate to your goal, and at the end of the day you can show your impact. This is what we started out with, and this is what we have achieved, and that clearly says everything. That's awesome. And anybody else would like to share? If you have like started thinking about it or have used something and you want to change, something worked really well and something didn't, anything like that? No?
Deb, while people are thinking, I'll interject just a little bit here. One of the things that we also do as an organization is our intentionality about heading toward, again, larger picture goals, these larger picture impacts that we want to make as an organization. So I want to speak to this because it layers in to the different sessions that we've been doing. And next month, when we get into the logic model, that is significant and important. And as an organization, we do have a strategized approach to our program, to programming as extension. So anyway, we call it the strategic plan. And so over a 5-year period, we lay out, this is where we want to be by 2025. And then each year, you all as faculty will design an individual extension plan where you'll take a little bite. You're going to take a little section of something and you're going to progress toward, a larger goal. And so when you first start, obviously you're not going to have outcomes, you're not going to have impacts yet. But if you design an individual extension plan, which is basically a logic model, you can kind of map it out, the direction that you're going to go. So all of these things interrelate. And further, each year we ask you for an impact statement because we need to be able to aggregate that information together. And so often all we have is quantitative. It's just how many people came to my programs or, this many people attended and so forth, but you have to dive a little deeper and it takes this intentional thought, about that. Again, when you first start, your impact statement may just be conceptual. Like I saw a situation, this is what I intend to do about it. Here's as far as I've gotten. This is the result or the response. And so your first year, second year, third year, it's just kind of a progression toward, different pieces. So that idea of what are my intended outcomes? What is my program ideas that Deb voiced at the beginning? Much of that at this juncture may be, again, conceptual and so forth. And you're going to map it out and you'll lead towards something that eventually, hopefully will be impactful. The last thing I'll say is that often in extension programs, we have to think about, like we mentioned about societal changes, but we also get information that you have to think about in the context of societal implication. So if you work in youth development as an example, and a goal of yours is to increase the number of young people going to college, maybe that does happen, but then so what? So what you can describe the difference between a high school graduate and a college graduate in earning potential, then their purchasing power, their contribution to the tax base and so forth. Or if you we're worried about the phosphorus load in the bay. Well, what can you do about that? Well, we have all kinds of programs that work with stormwater. We have trying to help people to better understand about putting fertilizer on their lawn and the runoff from that and all of these types of things. So there's effect that there's actions that you're taking, programs that you're doing, but they lead to a larger picture piece. And you have to think about what are those societal implications, and you kind of gather data from other sources also about that. We in our small group, when Carrie mentioned, also we spoke about, if we increase vegetable consumption among young people and their families, well, does that then lead to a decrease in the incidences of diabetes? That's very difficult to measure in a state as big as ours. How will we know that we move the needle? So it can get a little overwhelming. So this is why these approaches, it kind of takes an opportunity for us to map it out, kind of chunk it, for lack of a better term. We're not running a foot sprint race, we're running a marathon. If you think about it in that context, we're headed toward a bigger picture goal. So getting our foundational kind of standing with that is very important. So as you think about those programming ideas and the potential outcomes and so forth, we know they may be in their infancy, but eventually they'll lead to something, as Jackie said, when you get 5 years or 10 years or 15 years into your career.
Thanks, Jeff. Jackie, you have a comment to make?
Yeah, so as Jeff was explaining, so I want to give you an example of exactly the process that Jeff just kind of talked about. And I can use two different examples. First, I'll use my own work. I've been with Extension for with the university with 32 years Extension, almost that entire time. You all come into Extension and you've been dropped into offices, and you're already doing education programming. And so it's like this fire hose that you come out and you're doing all this programming. And eventually what you may end up realizing is that if you throw it all at the wall, it all buckets out. So I'm just going to use my example. When I came in where we started our new program in watersheds, I started teaching conservation landscaping workshops and rain barrel workshops and just general bay workshops and rain barrel workshops. And so they were all these different workshops. And after, I don't know, 10 years now of reading faculty CVs, I would look at a program area and I would get the objective is that clientele will understand what a rain barrel is. And that's great, but that's the objective of my individual class. So my class is to get people to understand what a rain barrel is. And my short-term outcome is there's knowledge gain on a rain barrel. The important part, because I did the survey work at the end of that workshop, the important part comes after that is 2 months, 6 months, 1 year after that, that you've in your program planning have designed that secondary post-program survey to go back and say, okay, you came to my workshop. Did you put a rain barrel in? Did you put a rain garden in? Did you put a conservation landscaping in? Getting that information. So now you've got your knowledge gain short-term outcome from the class. Now you've taken now I've done a second set of surveys. Now I know the behavior change. How many people put those things in? There's your medium-term outcome. And then because we're not the researchers in the field, we rely on the research. Okay, well, so what? There's rain barrels in, there's rain gardens in, there's conservation landscaping in. There is a plethora of research that is out there, especially in the Bay Area, that tells me that every time a rain barrel goes in, it saves this much nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment from going into the bay. This much. I don't have to do that research. That research is already done for me. So now all I have to do is take my outcomes, my medium-term outcome, and plug it into this math formula. So like Jeff was saying, with the what's the earning potential difference of a high school student versus a college student? That research has been done. All you have to do is find that research and cite that research and then multiply it by your data. If 50% of your kids are going to college. So in my case, I can say because 4 million rain barrels have gone in, my program has saved this much nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment from going into the bay. I use it with and now I'm saying, I'm looking at my whole program. My whole program, the objective of my program is not for people to learn about rain gardens and rain barrels. It's for people to do behavior changes that improve water quality. What's that behavior change that leads to that big condition down the road? And it might be hard. And as your programs evolve over time, as your career goes from year 1 to year 10, you may say, oh, wow, I have another condition. I've been measuring, and it's okay to add things. It's okay to add those types of things in. And a lot of times with our SNAP-Ed or originally with our SNAP-Ed, because SNAP-Ed has been very helpful with their faculty, is I use the example of, the objective is that kids will learn to eat broccoli. And I'm like, that's the objective of your class, of the one program you did, but your bigger objective is to reduce obesity rates. So that through the incorporation of fruits and vegetables, behavior change, fruits and vegetables, impact is reduced obesity rates. Well, where do you get that number? The day you started your job, I tell people, what's the obesity rates of children in your county? And what is it 10 years into your career? Can you take credit for all of it? Probably not. But are you working to help lower that number? Yes, you are. And it is okay to document those numbers. To say when I started, that's like, I started working, the Chesapeake Bay was an F. We got a report card of an F. The Bay is now a C. I'm going to take some credit for that. That's my job. That's what I do. So it may seem a little overwhelming, but it's there, and you all have colleagues in your program areas that kind of know where some of that data is. All you have to do is ask, especially the older farts that have been around for a long time. We know where the data is. We know where those numbers are. You can find the research, and a lot of times when you're going to your professional conferences, that's where you're going to find some of that information. So like for our ag faculty, a number of years ago, Florida, some researchers in Florida came up with what the economic value for all the continuing education credits that we do in pesticide management. Now we have a number, we have a social impact number that we can now multiply for every hour that we're teaching people and giving people credits. So that's the importance of also going to your national conferences, not just to present, but to also find that current research that's going on. So that's kind of my spiel. Sorry if it was long-winded.
No, that was awesome. Thanks, Jackie, for sharing. Yeah, so anybody else has any questions, comments, anything that you would like to say? We have 5 minutes. No, okay. Seeing none, we are of course recording this. We will be sharing the recording with you all. Then we also have next month, we are doing that again virtual on the logic model. So we will be going through each step of the way, how we design our programs and what we fit from the beginning till the end. And in October, it is going to be one in-person event. So Jeff, would you like to elaborate further on that, October 1?
Sure, I'm happy to. We're bringing everyone here to College Park, to headquarters, and we're able to host it at the Maryland 4-H Center, which is just adjacent to campus. So the good news is easy parking. There's their own parking lot, their own conference room, and all of the above. But our intention is to really bookend the day with a couple of deeper dives that sequentially has led to this culminating event. So one of them will really expand on our diversity, equity, inclusion, and respect focus as a broader college, also within UME, but more deliberately, how you all think about incorporation of DEIR within your programmatic plans, and those ideas of, if there's a group of folk in your community, your county, your city, wherever you happen to cover, whatever you happen to do, if they're not coming, us developing a better understanding of why is that not? What are the long-standing concerns, maybe lack of trust? There's all kinds of things that would influence people coming to programs and so forth. So we're going to deeper dive in that from a programmatic design aspect. And then in the afternoon, we're also going to really enhance the significance of mentorship on a broad scale. Each of you have an assigned mentor. In SNAP-Ed, there's an approach within the SNAP-Ed program for mentorship. The broader organization, some folks have mentors outside their program area, but regardless, everyone that's a faculty, that's, they have a mentor that's on trajectory. But that said, we want to really expand on the significance of that relationship, that support, better understanding each other, all of the above. There'll be a whole lot that's covered. But in the middle of the day, we're going to feed everyone, hallelujah, have a nice meal. But the broader extension, senior leadership will be there, and we'll have some completion certificate presentations. Our thoughts are to send some invitations to our area extension directors, to some designated mentors and so forth. Perhaps some of them can join, but we'll have just a nice informal time together. We have a meal, recognition, and so forth, but then those two elements will also be highlighted. Lastly, I'll say this, because we're talking about evaluation, we have to evaluate our program also. So we'll have a formal evaluation that would kind of wrap up that day about your experience in this series. And then also we intend to reveal our approach for 2023 forward when we think about new faculty onboarding and how we'll do that as a collective under the program and organizational development group. So it'll be a great day. So we're looking forward to having everyone in person.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, free food. Yes, free parking. Yeah, so I have sent out already a Google form, and I do see some great response to that already. But we are also in the process of coming up with a flyer to get all the details in one place so that you know what's going on in October and sign up accordingly. So we have 1 minute. So thank you everybody for joining today. It's a wonderful knowing you all, your programs, the approaches that you have already taken, and inching towards that goal. So we are here, me and Jeff, Our offices are open, doors are open. So anytime you need any kind of help, please let us know. Thank you, everybody.
So Deb, one final point. Our event in October, it is our expectation that it's face-to-face. We won't be having a virtual presence that particular day. The intent is a lot of camaraderie and interaction and so forth. So as we've made these, of course, obviously all of these have been virtual, but that day will be face-to-face. Anyway, more details will be coming. So
Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks, Joey. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. See you next month.